Hello, friends. You are listening to the TV is a Real Mom podcast. I am your host, Dave.
I'm also your host, Catie.
And in tonight's episode, we shall discuss many things. The usual shows we've been talking about the last several weeks that are going on right now. I guess we're going to cover Game of Thrones. We're going to cover Alone. Yeah, that show is still going on.
It is.
Big Brother is Catie's going to give us an update on what's going on in the Big Brother house. And
I don't think
try to pitch in a little bit. I don't know.
It's a shit show over there. Nobody needs to know. We'll talk about it, but you're probably better off in your life not knowing.
Okay.
But sorry, that's not a great advertisement to stick around, but
yeah. And then, maybe whatever else comes up in between, and we'll see what happens. First off, I would like to apologize for our absence last week. We haven't podcasted for a couple weeks, I don't think. Catie and I actually went on a little trip together, or at least we met up for part of it. We went camping in the Duluth, Minnesota area, which is nice, foresty, river-y. I don't know.
Waterfall-y.
How do you describe it, Catie?
I think forest is a good way to describe it. We were in a pretty foresty little campground there. Lots of rocks around, lots of slate, black rocks around. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, we were gone pretty much most of last week, and we thought about maybe podcasting on the trip, which would have been cool. But like, really, when you have such limited time to do stuff while you're there, it just like there really wasn't any time to do it.
No, it was a really fast trip, and there was a lot of driving, especially for me. So there wasn't a lot of time. So sorry we missed last week. We shouldn't miss any more, as far as I'm aware of. But
you never know. We might miss another one. It's bound to happen.
No, there's not that many episodes left of, I would imagine, Alone, and for sure we know how many Game of Thrones episodes are left. So.
What is it, 4 episodes left?
4 episodes left. Unfortunately, Big Brother drags on until the end of September, so...
Jeez, yeah, we got a long ways to go. It's a long slog on that show.
They still have like 12 people left. It's like, come on. Yeah. Start chopping them down.
Start getting rid of some people, yeah.
We need like a triple eviction.
Yeah, so, Duluth is kind of like don't you think it's like the closest we can get to an ocean? Being landlocked in North Dakota, like it's like you can drive maybe 4 or 5. Well, from where I live, you could drive like 4 hours, and it's on Lake Superior. Is that right?
Yeah.
So it's this huge lake, and it kind of reminds you of the ocean because you can't really see the end of it.
And you see sailboats and lighthouses, and it kind of transports you a little bit. You don't see that.
Yeah, it's like the closest thing you can get to an ocean town being landlocked. It's very strange. Like, we'd have to drive a long ways either direction to get to an actual ocean. So
that's true. I live very close to the geographical center of North America. So
yeah, that's bad.
It's about as far from ocean as you can get. So it's nice to have at least a big lake somewhat close.
Yeah. So that's where we were. It was a fun trip. As far as like catching up on the week we missed, we're gonna focus more on this week, right?
Yeah.
But if I think of anything that we just have to talk about from last week,
sure. Well, we can make allusions, But as far as episodes go and weeks go in Big Brother, we're just gonna focus on the most recent stuff.
Right. All right. Let's dive into it and start with Game of Thrones. Where to begin on that show?
Jeez, I don't even know. A lot has happened. We came into the season thinking Cersei was just going to get owned, and they've done a good job of turning that around because it all hinges upon this thing with Dany saying, like Batman, she doesn't want to kill innocent people. But that's really screwing things up for her. Her and Tyrion's unwillingness to sacrifice civilian lives to win this war.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
Because Dragonfire could, take out Cersei and Euron real quick. But somehow they never know where Euron is. He's like got this ghost fleet that just appears and takes out her fleet. I mean, after the first attack with the one that killed the Sand Snakes and, you know, Theon jumped overboard and he took Ilaria captive. Like, you'd think they would have been on their guard for, you know, Euron, looking out for him, but apparently not.
Yeah, so we never got a chance to talk about. I feel like that's a huge scene. The scene with the big battle at the end of episode 2.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big things that happened, you know, was it shows the 2 dead women at the end of the episode. What was your reaction to that? Did you figure out right away that, you know, did you think those 2 women were the, was it Yara and...
Yeah, I felt dumb because I was convinced that was Yara and Ilaria because I didn't think the 2 Sand Snakes mattered enough, you know, to even show them as like some prize to be displayed on the mast of your ship. But, you know, it's, I guess in theory they were important, character-wise not so much, but they got their own death scenes, died with their own weapons. You know?
That's what I missed, and I felt stupid. Like our sister's boyfriend, he kind of pointed out. He's like, "Yeah, didn't you see they had their own weapons? Like her blades were in her back, and the one was hanging from her whip." And I didn't realize that. And when he said that, I felt dumb because it seemed so obvious.
Well, I was convinced. I mean, the Ilaria thing paid off because that scene with Cersei torturing her. I mean, whoa. But like the Yara thing, I was like, what story does she have left? Other than Theon, apparently. Something's going to happen with Theon. But it just seemed like, I don't know, at this point in the game, I'm kind of like, well, I turned to my mom and I was like, why am I mad that they're not dead? Like, for some reason, I felt like they should have died. Because I just want to get on with it, maybe. Because I know we have a limited amount of time to take care of business, but... No, I mean, the only thing I can think of is Yara's going to play some role in Theon's second redemption. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, we didn't get to see anything from what happened with her. So, like, do you have any ideas on what's coming with her?
I don't want to think about it because she's in the captivity of Euron, and that guy's not great. So I'm just going to wait. That's kind of how I'm approaching the season. Like, I'm not thinking too much about it. I'm just... You know, my answers or questions are going to be answered in relatively short time, so I'm just going to wait it out. Yeah,
don't you feel like Ramsay Bolton has just been replaced by Euron Greyjoy in a way?
Yeah, except Euron's got a little more charisma, I'd say.
Yeah, Ramsay's just weird and creepy.
He's more body, B-A-W-D-Y. I don't know how to say that word, but he's more like that. And Ramsay was just a creepy effer who would just stare at you and then rip you apart.
Right. Yeah.
Speaking of creepy effers.
Yeah, Bran?
What did you think of Bran's reappearance?
I don't know. What the hell is he talking about, man?
He didn't even put... I know his arms aren't paralyzed, okay? I know his legs are, but he could have hugged her back.
Yeah, he didn't move at all. Like, he didn't...
No.
He's just completely given up on... body movement.
It would seem so. Well, like he's practicing because he's going to be stuck in a tree eventually.
Is that what happened? I can't remember like what the other three-eyed crow looked like or what that was.
The three-eyed raven was an old man in a tree.
Right, and so
into the tree.
One in the same then, because that's kind of.
I believe the tree like eventually like grew into him.
And so that's what's going to happen to Bran.
I would think that Godswood tree is probably going to be his home for a long time.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I feel like that's where it's going to happen, right? He's just going to sit there.
Yeah, and that tree has significance in the story going back to season 1. So I think he might be there for a while.
Right. Do you think that was George R.R. Martin's intention all along, was to have these, because there were, in the books and stuff, there was a lot of importance placed on these Godswood trees, and you never really understood what was going on there and what that was all about. and I feel like that gives them some sort of purpose where like this is where Bran is going to tap into like the whatever, the ether.
Well, it's clearly some type of conduit for him. And there's some it's been a long time since I've read the books or the lore or whatever, but I know there's something about the children of the forest would watch the world through the eyes of those trees, and that's why when the first men came, or no, the Andals came, I don't know, they chopped them down. The first men still believed in the old gods and the trees, but the Andals, which are the new men, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, they chopped those trees down. But they still worship the old gods in the north, so that's the only place you can still find those trees with the faces. Does that one have a face?
Yeah, I think it does, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know where I was going with that, but I do think Bran's going to be at Winterfell for a while. I don't know how he's going to deliver his news to Jon now, if he's just in Winterfell and Jon's over in Dragonstone mining dragon glass for God knows how long. But I don't know why he had to mention Sansa's wedding night. Like, of all the nights in her life, that's not what she wants to remember.
Yeah, I don't
what was that about?
understand. Yeah, can Bran see the future?
Apparently he can see everything.
Like, that includes the future, right?
He didn't say that. He said, I can see everything that has happened and everything that's happening now.
Oh, so he never said the future.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to say that. But
yeah, because in my head, my thought when he said the wedding thing was that hasn't happened yet. Like, he's referring to the end of the, like, at the end of the book, at the end of the whole story, Sansa's going to be getting married, or she's going to be in a wedding dress. That was my thought. What do you think of that?
Well, I think he was talking about her wedding to Ramsay, because they got married right in that spot. And she did look very beautiful, which was what made it, 10 times more sad. But
yeah, that makes way more sense.
Yeah. But
I can dig it.
Okay. So I just don't know why he'd bring it up. Is he trying to creep her out? He just doesn't associate. Like, this is what I have trouble with, is Bran was an emotional person, even last season. Like, the death of Hodor, was very emotionally traumatic for him, at least the way he played it. And now that's just gone. All that stuff's gone. Is that because the Three-Eyed Raven is just taking up all of his energy?
I have no idea. I don't understand it. It's very strange. I read
something that was like he has had a massive computer shoved into his brain. And like he no longer, everything seems puny to him now. But at the same time, it's like the whole reason he did that, I thought, was to, play a role in making, this important story play out the way it should. But if he thinks it doesn't matter, why does he care?
Yeah, that's what I don't get. It's like, what purpose does he serve? Like, what's he going to do? Like, can he relay information, and does he want to, and will he, and can he do anything to make an impact on the story?
I think he will. Otherwise, I don't think they would have written this shit into the show, because it's weird.
Or else he just like sits there as a tree, and he's a tree person and doesn't do anything.
In the book, he's just, started his training at the Three-Eyed Raven. Like, we don't know what's going to happen.
In the book.
Yeah. But I had a theory today that Arya is going to show up. Bran's going to go through his brain, and he's going to find out who needs to be murdered, and then Arya is going to go faceless man kill him. They're going to be a team.
Well, that's pretty sweet. I like that.
Stark, super Stark, coming together.
Yes, indeed. Okay, what else happened? There's a lot of stuff that happened.
Well, Jon and Dany met.
Yeah, what'd you think of that?
I was really, really annoyed with Dany at the very first beginning scene. Like, I know she was posturing and stuff, but I was just put off by her whole, I am the queen of the Seven Kingdoms. And it's like, bitch, no, you're not. You're not yet. Like, I know you want to be, but, and I know she doesn't know Jon. That's what's so hard about it, is we've spent 6 seasons getting to know these separate stories, very invested in them, and we just believe they should trust each other immediately. And when they don't, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand why she's so. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
You don't understand why Danny was so posturing like that?
Yeah, I don't. I guess I don't understand what I'm trying to say is like I don't understand who we're rooting for, like
It's a
who.
fair question. We're
Why
rooting for them to get together.
am I rooting for Danny or am I rooting for Jon Snow or both of them or
That's
who
a
like?
question only you can answer.
So is it pretty much like Cersei's the bad guy, and the
Cersei's the bad guy, but we've gotten to know her so well too that there are moments where you can empathize with her, like her, poisoning the final sand snake in front of her mother was pretty effed up, but it was also kind of deserved. So you didn't really know which way to go on that one, which is, I guess, good storytelling, because even the bad guy, you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't completely root against her.
exactly, that's where I'm still confused. Like in this Game of Thrones, like, is it supposed to be like? Is it really going to be a obvious, good guy wins?
No.
Or is Cersei a contender to win the Game of Thrones?
Well,
legitimately.
Okay, the first.
She's really good at it.
Right now, she is.
She's cold and evil, and maybe that's the point of the books. Is like, good, nice guys finish last.
Well, one of the cool things I've always said about the books is there is no obvious, like, hero, because all the characters have depth to them, and there's all just shades of gray. It's not just, Gandalf the White versus these ugly ass Uruk-hai orcs, whatever. Where it's very obvious who's bad, who's good, just by looking at them. I mean, these are very fleshed out characters, especially in the books. And so you just don't know what's right and what's wrong. But I think they're leaning pretty hard into the Cersei as a monster thing. And I think she's doing so well right now at the beginning of the season because they're setting her up for a pretty epic fall. So I don't know if you're supposed to root for Jon or Danny. I find myself torn as well because I know Jon really could give two shits about being king of the Seven Kingdoms. Like Danny, that's all she wants, but at the same time proclaims to be a champion of the people. That's kind of what's always bothered me about Danny, is she wants two different things, it seems. But really, if they joined forces and became the Ice and Fire or whatever, then you might have something to cheer for. And plus, they have Tyrion and Varys and Davos. So you got a pretty good squad.
Yeah, I think you kind of put things into perspective a little bit there, that like Danny, that's why Danny confuses me, and I don't know if I should root for her, is because she's sort of like, her purpose is to just like be queen because she wants to, and it's like she's entitled to it or something.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, she's, like you said, she's saying that she's doing it all for the people, but it's like it has nothing to do with the people. Other than I guess you could argue that she freed the slaves and stuff, and that's all good, fine, and dandy and stuff. But like, that's
why I feel like this posturing thing, I know she's had moments like that before, but it rings false to me because, I mean, that's how you get to be in the power where you are the person who can help the people, but it's not relatable to someone who really is of the people, a bastard like Jon Snow.
Right. So the only thing we can really root for is Jon and Danny to get together, really, and yeah, fight, because really Jon is right here. The true enemy is the White Walkers, because they're basically an army of the dead that's going to wipe out mankind as they know it. So like, what bigger enemy is there? Do you think like Cersei can join forces with them as well when they realize the problem, or is that just never going to happen? Is it going to be all of them versus White Walkers, or
Cersei's either going to team up with the White Walkers or they'll just flicker or wipe her out with no thought, which I think would be a fitting end for her.
Right.
Just, oh, puny human, bye.
Yeah, how do you think that's all going to come to a head? Like, are the White Walkers going to be attacking the Red, what is it? The Keep?
Red Keep.
The Red Keep, is that what it's called?
I don't think they're going to get there this season. They haven't even made it to the wall yet.
No, I don't think they'll get there this season, but I mean,
Oh,
like the end game is like the White Walkers are going to be in the Red Keep, and Cersei's going to be there, and Dany's going to be there. Like they're all going to be in King's Landing or something.
that's kind of another thing I struggle with. Like, where does the end of the story take place? Is it because King's Landing has never, to me, been. I mean, it's the heart of the political aspect of the story, but it's not the heart of the story. I feel like a battle at Winterfell would make sense, but
Yeah, I feel like the southern characters like King's Landing people and Dragonstone, whatever, they're eventually all going to end up in the north fighting the White Walkers.
Except for those maybe who don't believe in it, like Cersei. I doubt she'll ever buy into that, but
I feel like she's going to end up there because I feel like right now this season is building towards resolution in King's Landing and that sort of, because there's two different conflicts going on right now.
Yeah.
And the biggest one is the White Walkers. So I feel like the first one to be resolved is going to be whatever resolution that is, it's going to be the King's Landing stuff will be resolved first, and then our main characters, whichever ones are still alive, will be the ones in the final battle with the White Walkers.
So you think the King's Landing stuff will be resolved and Cersei will remain alive?
Yeah.
Well,
somehow I think that's going to happen.
See, I just think she's got quite a fall coming, but because they've built her up so fast and so hard.
But she's but it's like I said, it's like you kind of root for her. She's kind of a good guy, almost.
I don't know if I go that far.
Well, like she's not a good person, but she's like she almost fits into like somebody you root for. Like
See, to me, she's getting more and more monstrous and harder to root for.
I thought you just said like her revenge she took, you know, like
no, I understood
that was a rootable moment.
I understood that. You know, she took it to a level maybe it didn't need to go, but I understand why she did it. But like blowing up the Sept just to kill a handful of people, or you know, some of the other shit she's doing.
Yeah, who knows, man? I have no idea.
And I don't understand why Jaime's sticking by her through this. And I've said it before, but like this, and Olenna was right. Like, she's a monster. She's a disease. Like, what are you doing? You gave up your whole reputation to stop something like this from happening. And here you are at the hand of someone just as bad as the Mad King, because that torture scene with Ilaria where they couldn't quite reach each other was like a complete reflection of what the Mad King did to Ned Stark's father and brother. Like, that's how he killed them. I mean, not the same exact method, but like one was trying to save the other, but the harder he reached out to him, he would choke himself, and but one burned alive and one choked himself to death.
Oh. You lost me. I'm sorry. You got too deep into the lore and I got lost.
Sorry. I'm just saying they're going out of their way to make these parallels between Cersei and the Mad King. She is the Mad King.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. How badass is it? Olenna? How badass was that when he's like, or she's like, "Is this gonna hurt?" And he's like, "No," and she just
shugs it and then proceeds to tell him
she's so ready. She's like, I'm done with this. Peace."
But not before she gets one last. I was waiting the whole scene. I was like, "You better tell him. You better tell him." Because if she doesn't tell him, I mean, Littlefinger's the only other person who knows, and Littlefinger's not going to give it up like that. So when
you saw that coming, that she was going to tell him?
Yeah, because I knew that this had never been. Cersei still thought Tyrion killed Joffrey.
Yeah,
and Sansa.
I had totally forgotten that she was the one who killed Joffrey. I didn't remember until she said that. Yeah.
She's a bad bitch.
That was pretty sweet, though. It was a good.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss her character though. Her character was one of the best.
Yeah, it's like kind of too bad that they had to kill her off, but I guess it's like what's left for her to do. I mean, we got a lot of things to wrap up in the story, and it's like we can't keep checking in with her. I mean, you don't have to kill off everybody though. I mean, you could just keep someone alive and not check in with them till the end of the story, you know.
Well, I think Ilaria is still alive, but she has to watch the slowly decaying corpse of her daughter for the rest of her life.
Yeah, is that how that's going to play out, actually? Like, you think
that's what she said.
It's actually going to go down like that?
Because when when Marcella died, there was a scene where Cersei was talking about how she couldn't stop herself from thinking about her decaying body. And so I think she wanted to make Ilaria see it because she was thinking about it. It's all very symmetrical. Like, these writers, they're not working with source material anymore, but for the most part, I think they're doing a respectful and good job of imagining where the story could go.
Right. I mean, yeah, they're staying rooted in what was built to begin with. Like, they have, it's almost like if you have 90% of a puzzle, you can see where the other puzzle pieces should fit, or you can see what goes there, you know? And that's kind of, I feel like, yeah, that's exactly what they're doing a good job at, is just filling in those spaces based on the way the puzzle looked, you know? So that's cool.
There's some bitching out there about how things are happening too fast. There's no way Euron could sail from here to there and whatever. But
come on. Like, who gives a shit?
Exactly. Like who gives an effing shit about that? Like, these guys.
That's like something you really want to complain about. Like, you really want to complain about the logistics.
For stuff.
So you want them to drag the show out for like 5 more seasons just so they can add enough time for travel,
to make the trip seem realistic. Yeah,
give me a break.
And they don't say how much
and
time
yet you don't give a shit about
things.
You don't give a shit about Ed Sheeran like taking you out of it.
Did.
Ed Sheeran didn't take you out of it, but that did. Okay, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, and the thing is that when these guys signed on to make the show, they thought this story was going to be done. They ran out of books a long time ago, and they're at this point they want to finish the story like quickly, but also do it justice. And all they have to do that with is, you know, their writers and then their producers and themselves, and maybe the occasional plot point from George R.R. Martin. Like, I mean, it's so dumb.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could put a thing at the bottom saying 3 months later or whatever, but like that takes you out of it too. So
yeah, I'm glad they don't do shit like that, like little subtitle things. Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah, there's probably a lot more we could talk about. What about like Varys and Melisandre conversation? Is there anything worth touching on in there?
Yeah, I don't know. I was reading somewhere that Melisandre had a scene with Arya in season 3 where she told Arya, "I'll see you again." And the theory is that Arya is going to kill her, but they haven't met up again yet, so I don't think we've seen the last of her yet.
Yeah. Is Varys actually a spider? Is he like a spider person?
No, but that was his nickname in King's Landing.
I didn't get this line where she says, "I have to die in this strange country just like you."
Yeah,
like,
I don't think he understood that either. I think
I have to die in this strange country just like you. And she calls him the spider right before that. I got this weird image that like the way that she's like a ghoul in disguise, like Varys is actually like a spider creature in disguise. I mean, I know that's probably not the case, but it's like maybe that's like the symbolism that was meant. Like, he's not of this world. He's like a spider person, like metaphorically. You know what I mean? Maybe that's what she meant. I don't know.
Well, the thing about Varys is that he does not care for magic. So I don't think he's a magical spider.
No, yeah, that's a good point. If he was a magical spider person, he wouldn't be afraid of magic.
The White Walkers back during the long night last time apparently rode ice spiders.
In the books?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I'd like to see one of those.
What else happened? What else you got?
What else happened?
Stuff happened in the show and things.
I thought it was really funny when Missandei lists all of Dany's titles, and then Jon has to look at Davos, and he's like, "Oh, this is Jon Snow."
Yeah, that was.
And he doesn't even say King of the North. He has to be nudged to say, "Oh yeah, King of the North."
Someone, nudges him. Yeah, that was hilarious. I really like that too.
And I like, okay, so Tyrion is failing hard at this military planning stuff, and that's where I think Jon is going to become useful to Dany as a military like tactician. And also you've got Jorah probably coming back, So I think with Jorah and Jon, like maybe taking over as planning the military stuff, because Tyrion has no shit about planning battles, like except for the Blackwater, which was like only one with wildfire. So I think that's something that's going to happen. And I also think Tyrion, while he does a shitty job with that, he's doing a good job of bringing Dany and Jon together. So he is not proving to be completely useless, but pretty close.
Yeah, well, in our last podcast a couple weeks ago, we did talk about that. We basically, you kind of disagreed maybe a little bit, but we kind of determined that really Tyrion just has Blackwater under his belt, and every other tactical decision he's made since then hasn't really worked out that great. So here's just another in this third episode is another prime example of him failing miserably at this job.
Yeah, and that's another way in which Olenna was right from last season, where she said, Dany, you need to be a dragon, stop listening to clever men. So she also won in that way, and that Dany's finally realizing this old lady is old for a reason. She knows what she's doing, and I shouldn't be listening to this guy anymore.
Yeah, really good point. It is kind of disappointing, though, because Tyrion is like the crowd favorite. Still,
he needs a victory.
Arguably my favorite character, you know, so like really not cool that he's sucking.
No, it sucks. It does
but, you know,
suck.
it's good. It's good for like for the fairer sex, you know, like,
yeah,
it's good. It's good for women. Like it's like you don't need the guys to call the shots.
Right.
Like, you know what's up. Right.
Yeah, and it's weird that he can. I mean, he's related to the other person, and he knows the other person planning this stuff really well, and he's completely underestimating her. So, I don't know what the answer is. Like, he doesn't know how to outdo Cersei, and he was the one who made that comment about how she's not half as smart as she thinks she is, and now she's just on top of the world.
Yeah, she seems to be faring better so far. But wasn't it kind of Jaime's idea though to
take Highgarden?
Yeah, to say forget about where are they from again?
Casterly Rock.
Casterly Rock. Forget about that. We don't even give a shit about that. Let's just let them think that's a thing, and we'll.
He said that at the end though, so I don't know whose planet actually was. They didn't.
Yeah, we don't really know whose planet was. That's We can't assume.
It was probably both of theirs.
We can't assume it was just Jaime, but Jaime is the war hero, so he probably knows more about tactics.
But when Cersei was talking to
Jaime did mention that he pulled the move based on something he learned from one of his failures.
Oh yeah, from
so
Robb Stark.
It was kind of his idea.
Yeah, and Cersei knew about it because she told the banker. She said, "Give me a fortnight, and I'll have your money."
Oh yeah, she knew it was coming. Yeah, yeah, good point. I didn't think of that. They
hatched it together.
Yeah, for sure. But Jaime gets all the credit.
I think Cersei's gonna get some credit.
Jaime gets all the credit because he's a man.
Well, she's the queen, though.
I'm just playing.
He will get a lot of credit.
So, what else did we not talk about?
Theon got picked up. I mean, that scene was like 2 seconds long, just enough to let us know he's back. He's
what fine. The hell? Like, what's he even doing? What's his purpose?
I don't know. Obviously, he has one, or they wouldn't be wasting our time. But
yeah. Any thoughts? Anyone want to talk about Ser Jorah and Sam? Maybe the pudding scene.
Pudding.
The pudding scene when he cut off all his.
Oh, from last episode? No, I don't want to talk about that. The grayscale stuff.
You didn't like that cut? I
mean, it was clever, but it was gross also.
I didn't realize it was pudding. I thought that was.
No, you weren't supposed to. I
didn't realize what I was looking at. I really didn't. I think like Cassie, our sister, saw it like right away. She said pudding, and I was still thinking in my head. I'm like, oh pudding. Yeah, it does look like pudding. But no, I think she got it.
I feel like the cure for grayscale was a little bit simple.
Right.
But whatever.
No, go ahead. Just
I don't know what else to say. I'm just like, it was this disease that Shireen had, and they could only cure it by bringing in the best maester in the land. And and then Sam reads a book and does this simple, not simple, but procedure, and Jorah's fine.
Yeah, is that all it was cut the stuff off?
Well, they put a some type
I guess the
of
ointment is the key,
ointment
right?
on it. Yeah.
That's the part that, it just does seem overly simple when you're like, oh, you mean no one thought to just cut it off, But I guess the ointment is the key.
Okay. But yeah, I think Sam's going to find something in those scrolls he has to copy.
Yeah, probably. Like, what do you think he's going to find? Something more important than dragon glass?
The cure to
cancer.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, what else is there that's more important? But that's the other thing. This show has to have some surprises up its sleeve.
Yeah, I'm sure it has a couple. I mean, I was kind of surprised by the Casterly Rock.
Yeah, I think everybody was. That was quite a fake out.
Yeah, what did you think about the sex scene with Grey Worm and stuff?
Whatever, it's fine. I thought it was kind of like a waste of time because.
Yeah, I mean, do we really
let's get on with it here? But
yeah, I mean, as much as HBO subscribers love that shit, like, there's not much time. Like, and we don't know Grey Worm and her that well. Like, what does this really lend to the story? Is it just supposed to make us sad when Grey Worm dies? Like, is that?
Well, the one explanation I read was that.
Like, now I really feel bad.
One explanation I read was about how these are two slaves that Dany freed, and now they get to have their own, like, stuff. And
freedom.
So it's like a symbol of what Dany has accomplished.
Okay, I can dig that. That works.
So, but it did go on for a long time.
Other than that, it's like a lot of time to waste for just, like, HBO's got to get their gratuitous sex in,
They do, and they probably won't have too many chances.
Yeah, anymore. So they're just trying to get
Although they had Cersei and Jaime this episode, which, by the way, did you notice that she went right from killing someone with poison lipstick to going to Jaime and kissing on his wiener?
Well, he was.
Am I the only one who noticed that?
Like, poisoned his dick.
She went like this, and I'm like, girl, I hope you did more than that, because
that ain't good for Jaime, no sir.
No, he already lost a hand.
Good. No, but yeah, that is interesting though. That, like, death and murder turns her on because she's
effed up.
Yeah, that really does portray her more as, like you said, not someone we would root for, more of a monster.
I feel like
turned on sexually by murder.
I feel like that was something that the Mad King was all about too. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I remember reading that.
I'm sure there's something to that. Yeah. So, like, you remember a lot more about the lore behind everything and the history of. I don't remember all that stuff, but I think you're definitely right that they're drawing a lot of parallels between the two, for sure.
So that's why I think another reason why Jaime's going to kill her too, because he's the Kingslayer. He's already done it once. Yeah,
it's just perfectly parallel. That would be, I mean, yeah, this could be one of those books stories where everything ties up in a neat little bow and everything has meaning and parallels, and that's fine. I mean, that's good stuff, Some people say it's too on the nose, but that's good sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything else? Any characters we missed?
I'm a little bummed we haven't seen the Hound since the first episode. I'd like to see him again, although he did get a lot of time in the first episode. But
that's a good point. I forgot that we hadn't seen him since. Anything to say about Sansa and Littlefinger?
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess Littlefinger at the end of in episode 2, you were saying that you feared
for
Jon Snow because of the way Ned Stark, once again, another parallel, right?
Very direct parallel to pushing him up against the wall and trying to choke him out, threatening him. And it didn't end well. And he also got beaten up by Ned's brother, who died shortly after. So it's not promising.
So yeah, this Littlefinger interaction makes you worry for Jon Snow a little bit.
Yeah, but at the same time, how they talk about how we're not going to punish our children for the sins of the father, whatever. I feel like maybe that also means, just because it's happened to their parents doesn't mean it's going to happen to them. But there's a lot of symmetry in these stories, especially the books.
Right. Yeah. Anything else about Sansa and Littlefinger worth talking about?
I don't know what Littlefinger's issue is. I think he might die soon.
Could be. What there was one thing he said that I liked from episode 3
about how you have to imagine everything happening all at once in your mind.
Yeah, everything, like basically saying everything that could happen, you have to see it all happening. It's all happening, so that when it actually does happen, whichever thing does happen, you've already seen it happen.
You know what it reminds me of? Like playing Survivor or playing Big Brother. Like a really good player imagines all scenarios and has plans for all scenarios.
That's the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
The Game of Thrones is Survivor. Only way more serious.
Playing the game. Most of the people are playing the game, but then you have people like Jon Snow and Beric Dondarrion and the Hound that are looking out more for humanity as a whole. They might be like your coaches of Survivor. The people who want to play nobly but end up just looking like fools.
Like your Andrew Savages.
Yeah. I don't want to compare Ned Stark to Andrew Savage. That upsets me, but unfortunately it might be true.
Or your Brad Culpeppers.
But the thing is,
I'm just kidding.
Ned Stark put his money where his head was, and those guys were just full of shit.
Sure. Okay. Did we miss anything that was worth talking about?
But I don't know. We've talked a lot about Game of Thrones. Perhaps we should move on.
There's a lot there. I'm sure.
It's a lot. There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, it's a lot. Okay, so transition time.
Transition. What's next, Dave?
What have you been up to, Catie? What have you been up to since you got back from vacation?
I pretty much went immediately to work and have not had much time since off. So not great.
What without going into too much detail, what's like your line of work? Just let the people know.
Recreation, working at a summer park, not a summer park, a state park, doing programs and stuff, making people have fun. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Trying.
Cool. Still, are you enjoying that?
Yeah, it's always a busy time of year, though. It gets you a little tired, especially when you come back from vacation and you're like, why am I still not on vacation?
Yeah, I know. That was tough coming back from this vacation. Anytime you have a lot of time off, it's like,
why does anyone ever work? I'm like Larry on Alone. Like, what is the point of my life?
Right.
When I could be like having fun all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Have you gone to any movies lately?
Last movie I saw was Baby Driver. That was a few weeks ago at this point.
And is that worth seeing?
It's good. It's a little different than most Edgar Wright movies in that I'd say it's not quite as funny, which is what I love Edgar Wright for, is the funny.
What else has he done?
Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, World's End, Scott Pilgrim.
I didn't know that was one of his. Okay.
Spaced, yeah.
Nice.
But it is really cool, really choreographed really well, lots of music, lots of violence, but it happens.
No, yeah, it looks really cool. If I get a chance to see it, I'm sure it's like out of most theaters now.
You might still find it. I think it did fairly well for what it is.
Yeah, if I get a chance to see it soon, though, we should talk about it next time or something.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I haven't seen any movies I haven't watched any movies for a while. Definitely haven't gone to one in a long time. I think did I talk about this in the last podcast? Last movie I think I went to was Power Rangers.
No, but that's a sad story.
Isn't
you should probably
sad?
go see something else.
It's like a long time ago and a really bad movie.
There's some good stuff out there. Wonder Woman was good.
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of movies that look good to me.
Dunkirk, we talked about that looks good.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot around at the moment.
Yeah, we got to talk about a movie one of these days on the podcast.
Movies aren't as good as TV these days.
Yeah, maybe not, and maybe that's something we could talk about too.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, let's move on to Alone.
Okay.
The History Channel show where people survive with their loved ones and not
So it's
alone.
not really alone. They really should call it Alone, not alone.
Alone together.
Together, alone.
Yeah, so Catie missed. I don't think Catie ever even saw episode. Is it 5 or 6? I can't remember which one it was.
Know.
Yeah. I don't know if we just saw episode 7 or 6. I'm a little mixed up, but
same.
Catie missed the one 2 weeks ago, yes. I guess.
I missed the one where Chris and Brody went out because I usually can't watch until Monday, but that's when we left for our trip. And so and then by the night I got back, everyone was watching the new one, so I just watched that without watching the one before that. So whatever, Dave told me what happened.
Well, there's two things of that episode that it kind of sucks you didn't see it. And one is the Chris and Brody thing. I would have loved to hear, because I feel like you would have bitched about it more than I planned to.
Well, I don't even have to see it to feel like I saw it coming a mile away, because just by this guy's, I don't know which one is the professor. Chris, I suppose. The one I call the professor. The older one, like, he just had that vibe. And I can't explain it. I can't put words on it. I've met people like this in my life, but he had that vibe where he talks a lot of game and doesn't back it up.
Right. And from the start, I mean, we talked about that on the podcast too, like that their downfall was going to be the family thing. And no matter what, they were going to suffer, and then they were going to use the family thing as an excuse. No matter how true it is that they miss their family, because I know they miss their family a lot. It's just like such an easy, if you allow that to be your excuse, it's such an easy thing because it's socially acceptable. It's a socially acceptable excuse. It's almost like commended, or, you know, like, oh, you quit for your kids. That was the right thing to do. And that's why the quit bothered me a lot, you know, because I think they really were just, they couldn't hack it, and they used the kids as an excuse.
Well, we've seen that before. What was that guy last year who was like, I'm not tapping out, I'm tapping in to my life?
That was Brit.
It's like, that's some bull crap if ever I heard it. Like, don't even give me that. And literally, what day did they quit? Day 17? And this guy wasn't even the guy that did the hike.
Yeah, no, exactly. And yeah, that's another part that really bothered me about it was Brody. It was so obvious Brody was doing fine. Like Brody was ready to go. Like Brody was going to hang tough. He, you know, they were having struggles, but Chris was miserable and couldn't handle it. Brody was doing fine, and he wanted to stay. And it was obvious that they had spent a couple days debating it. Like, it wasn't just like Brody's like, you're right, man. Like, I want to go. It was like Chris convinced him and twisted his arm and used things like, he's like, oh, you're going to miss your kid's birthday. Yeah, that's what he told Brody, you know, your kid's birthday is coming up. If you quit now, you can go. Like, he twisted his arm and manipulated him. And
1-year-old's birthday, who gives a shit?
Yeah, and to me, it seems like they didn't have the tightest relationship as brothers to begin with. They didn't.
Like, you can see how comfortable the Bairds are with each other. And
they're
those
not comfortable
two,
at all.
It was just awkward. And that was part of the thing at the beginning, was that he wanted to, like, get to know his brother. And it's like, apparently you didn't want to get to know him that well, because
you
made him quit something that could have changed his life.
Right, and they could have won. I really think they could have won if Chris would suck it up. And I guarantee
that's another reason I don't like this format, because Chris or Brody could have made it really far if this was just alone.
Yeah, it's another thing it's another knock on the format for sure. But yeah, I just thought, like, he kept saying, you know, my kids are gonna be proud of the decision I made. They're gonna be happy and blah blah. I'm like, I think your kids are they're going to know the real reason you quit, and they're going to be mad at you for using them as an excuse to quit. That's what I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
And obviously I could be way off base here. I don't know.
But it's also the same.
I know I couldn't do what they did.
Right.
You know, like, so I'm not saying that, but
wasn't this
outside
the guy
looking in, it's just, yeah.
Wasn't
sorry, go
this
ahead.
The guy whose family was, like, begging him not to go?
Exactly. So from the get-go, you knew he just went out there with a guilt trip. It's like, I can't believe they even cast these two. Like, it's
Yeah.
such a flop, and especially to have them be like fourth. You know.
Well, we called it they were going to be fourth.
Yeah, I mean, so far our order has pretty much held up.
Who did we say third?
I
we have
think
different
we have
orders?
different orders because I think you put like Brooke and Dave third, didn't you?
Yeah, because I thought
You got Pete and
Sam
Sam
and Pete
first.
second, and the Bear. Oh, the Bear brothers are a hot
Well,
mess.
they're your winner pick, but the last time we did power rankings, you put Pete and Sam in first place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Bairds are a mess.
Yeah, and that's the other part of the episode that I would have liked you to see was like how the Bairds had an amazing arc in that episode where they were really low. I still can't tell them apart. I still don't know which one's which.
I get it. Like by the end of the episode, I'm like, okay, I got it. And then once I don't watch it for a week, I'm like, I've forgotten it.
Yeah. So one of them is sick, puking because he can't keep the seaweed down, and one of the brothers steps up, goes out. He says, "I'm gonna step up and carry my brother," because that's what brothers do. And you know, it looks like it's not working out. And they finally start catching fish. And they just have this turnaround, and at the end of the episode they catch this bird, you know, by hitting him with the hat, and they have this amazing they get really well fed, and it's just an awesome arc for Jim and Ted, and you would have really enjoyed that. So I think you should
go back and watch it.
Yeah, I think you should at some point. But then we did get to watch the latest episode together, so like any thoughts right off the bat that jumped to mind from that episode for you?
I don't know.
Do you remember what happened?
Yeah, I think there's a debate to be had about who's taking the right approach. I mean, you have Brooke and Dave using like all their energy to build this sweet cabin, but like Brooke is like really struggling, you can tell. And then you have like Jim and Ted, who all their energy is going into finding food, which they're not that successful at really. But I mean, we've had this debate before, but like, whose approach is better? Like Dave and Brooke got really lucky that storm missed them or whatever, and they were able to finish the cabin. But I mean, they took a risk with that thing.
Yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of the debate last season with Fowler and Dan. Dan kept saying, you know, like, I just got to ride this out. You know, when they first started doing this juxtaposition of those two characters, my initial reaction was Dan's got the right idea. Like, don't waste any energy. Just lay around for however long you need to lay around and win the money and go home. And Fowler was expending tons of energy. But I mean, look who won, you know? So I was wrong.
He made a life out there, whereas Dan just tried to exist out there.
Exactly. So there is something to be said about expending a ton of energy as long as you anticipate getting rewarded for that, you know?
Yeah. And they're also like a married couple. Like nesting is a thing when you're like, you know, in a relationship like that. Like it just seems like a natural, they'd want a home. Whereas two rough, big mountain man brothers are just trying to not die.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It looks like it's going to work out for Brooke and Dave because they managed to finish and it looks super comfortable. And yeah, they finished it, so they're good.
I didn't think it was going to go that way. I thought they were in trouble. But,
yeah, it did kind of look like for a second that they were going to expend all their energy on the cabin and tap out because Brooke would collapse or something.
Yeah. On day 17.
But she's a tough cookie, man.
Yeah, she's hanging in there. They finished her up.
Yeah, Jim and Ted, they don't even have a shelter. They just have a tarp.
They just sleep under a tarp.
Yeah, and they're dying though. I mean, they're really hurting out there.
Yeah, my winter picks aren't looking good. They can't even. First of all, they don't even succeed at catching fish, and in their efforts, they always hurt themselves too. So it's like, I don't know how much more they can take.
Right. What did you think of that moment when one brother was telling him like, "Don't throw out the rock
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Dude, you're gonna hook your finger." And he's like, "I'm gonna
Shut up.
I'm gonna do it. Don't do it." And then he just tosses it out, and lo and behold, he hooks his finger.
And that just leads to more fighting. It's just two. It's just a shit. It's not pretty what they do, but I mean,
But
sometimes they get the job done. Doesn't seem like it is right, like they are right now. But
it's like they never really want to kill each other, though. They're just like they get it all out. They vent their frustrations with each other, and then it's done. And that's that. You know.
I think it's just how they talk to each other. It's
yeah, no,
language.
They got it figured out what their thing. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I friggin' love when these guys, like, when they say yeah.
They do it a lot. It's like their thing.
Like, so there's a couple of shots of them where one of their faces just looks like they're about to like fall asleep or die. and then like he'll just go yeah. like they always have energy for that, I guess.
Yeah, that's what they conserve their energy for.
And then at the end of this episode they go no.
Because of the hook.
What was it again?
I've forgotten already.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Something else bad, probably.
Something happened, and they're like, "No." Actually, I think it was in the preview.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was
with their boat, and like their anchor gets washed away or something, and he's like, "No."
That's all they need. Good Lord. Will you excuse me for a sec? I gotta turn a light on. It's already getting dark in here.
Yeah, it's pretty dark in there. Can't see your face anymore. Yeah, let's talk more about this episode. What's there to say about Brooke and Dave? I mean, we kind of covered that, I guess. Yeah, right? Hello? I can no longer hear you. Might want to check to see that your mic is connected. Catie? Yeah, I'm not sure what you did, but we lost sound. Did you hit a light switch at all? It looks like Katie's lost sound, so we might have to call it. Let's see. I don't know what else it could be. Hello? Hello? Let's see. Is my mic on? My mic's still on. I can't hear her. Apparently she can't hear me. Yeah, I have no idea what else it could be. Should we call it? I guess we gotta call it. All right. We've lost sound, so we'll stop the podcast here. Sorry if you're looking forward to hearing about Big Brother. And we will, I don't know, maybe we'll make another podcast this week or something. Thanks for listening, you guys. Have a good one. Peace.